Live from Fort Worth, welcome race fans, one and all, back to Green Flag TV, where this afternoon we're set to beat and bang once again from one of the best mile and a halfs of the business. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Texas Motor Speedway, and to round number 8 of the SRA NasClassic Series. My name is Ola Rempel. Joined alongside me today is George Kirafides. So we get set to go into the second half of racing action this season. Well, George, it's going to be a pretty fun ride for everybody here this afternoon. 125 laps ready to go to war here in the Lone Star State at a track that has previously thrown up some of the best mile and a half racing that SRA has to offer. We'll take a look at the point standings entering racing action here this afternoon. Zane Bailey, despite only having one win on the board, still sits atop the point standings, but only by 11 as Dalton Kilroy is hot on his heels trying to chase him down. Meanwhile, dead tie for third place with Paul Witt and Aaron Raymond, both also not too far out of the fight. Zane Bailey has been holding on to the points lead with sheer consistency alone, and can he keep that consistent streak up to keep that points lead this afternoon? And of course, you got to look further down the field as well. Jasper Crawford clinging on to the top 5 in a hotly contested battle with Larry Bell. And of course, Thomas Lane Jr. in a multi-way scrap. Look at Ryan Wayne. Ryan Wayne back to Thomas Lane Jr. separated by just a mere 4 points. And that battle extends even further down the field because it is a 3-way tie for 11th with Mark Arthur, Jared Duda, and Brian Zimmerman. All the points being this close together this late in the season really does show that these guys are not playing around this late in the season. There has been no one driver trying to run away with it so far this season, although many have attempted it. And this, of course, takes us to racing action this afternoon from the Texas Motor Speedway. Of course, we'll take a look at the weather this afternoon. Right now, looking pretty ideal, all things considered. 89 degrees Fahrenheit down to the racing surface, 80 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. Looking very, very solid, and a light breeze going as well, about 9 miles an hour blowing to the southeast. Of course, that is the big key, right? I mean, you got to keep in mind of those little corner reprofiles that these guys are going to have for themselves here this afternoon. Those corner reprofiles, they do not play around. Of course, this track reprofiled back in 2017, and that is the scan that we are working with here this afternoon as drivers are getting set to take to the starting grid in just a few moments here. I tell you what, I mean, this is one of those races, right? We have seen plenty of drivers try and fail. There is a lot that is yet to be done here this afternoon, and I know for a fact a lot of drivers have been working hard for this race, right? There's never been a repeat winner here before on Green Flag TV with the SRA across any of the series they have, and I'm willing to bet we might be seeing one this afternoon, or we could see a new player at the front.
Well, yeah, it all depends on, how much these guys practiced, getting into their corners, because since these corners are so different, there's different entry, exit points, different points to run to save tires, and the fact that, I think that they could run flat out coming through 3 and 4, but turn 1 and 2, you're going to have to use brake or you'll slide up.
With all that said and done, we're about ready to take a rundown of what your starting grid is going to look like here this afternoon. So let's take a swing down and This is how they're going to line on up. You got 29 cars ready to go to war in Texas. Starting on pole position here this afternoon, it is going to be none other than one Zane Bailey, the points leader himself, started up on pole alongside Kyle Wellman. Wellman doesn't have any well to serve. We'll get to that in just a moment. He starts on the front row for now. Meanwhile, row number 2 is going to hold Michael Gudge alongside Ryan Wayne. Row 3 then holds Jared Duda alongside Dalton Kilroe, trying to chase down Bailey for the points lead. Row 4 holds James Yerger alongside Mark Arthur. And then closing out the top 10 is going to be Ted Rekic and Paul Witt. Corey Bonin, though, back on row number 6 alongside Thomas Lane Jr. Row 7 holds Jim Duda and Pat Green. Row 8 with Tanamar and Dylan Wilbers. Row number 9 holding Aaron May and Lyman Van Leer. And then row 10 will bring up Zachary Mertz and Cole Snyder. Row number 11 will have Brian Zimmerman alongside Noah Swafford. Row number 12 with Mike Campbell and Andrew Duffield. Row number 12 with Jim Kolmelsberger and Joshua Bergen on row 13. Row 14 headed up by Cody Witt and Jasper Crawford. And then at the tail of the field, John Holliday, the lone car that failed to qualify for this race. So field is getting set to roll on out here before too long. You see everybody situated down there on pit road, waiting to get themselves up and moving here this afternoon. Several drivers with EOLs after a few crashes last week, George, at the Kansas Speedway. Those drivers that will be sent to the tail this afternoon: Joshua Burke, Jeff Gilmore, Dylan Wilbers, and Kyle Wellman. 3 of the 4 here tonight. Jeff Gilmore, I do believe, is not present with us here this afternoon, so his EOL penalty will carry over to the next race when we see him back on the racetrack.
Well, that's the new penalty system that the SRA has implemented to clean up racing a little bit more and hold drivers accountable for, incidents that they may cause.
It's, of course, a new system with a complete third-party review board that seemed to work well last week. I didn't see too many drivers complaining about it, so we'll see if this is going to continue to be the case here once we get to the end of racing action here this afternoon. Of course, if those drivers get another penalty point by the end of the night, they'll be slapped with not just an EOL, but a drive-through penalty as well going into the next race as well. So definitely not something you want to rack up too difficult. Again, I think it's either 4 or 5 points. You'll find yourself being asked to sit out the remainder of the season. So we're working out of turn number 2 here. George, any favors to win this one right out of the gate?
Well, I really like Zane Bailey's chances. I mean, he's shown speed in qualifying here, starting at the pole. But the real showing he needs to the real thing he needs to show is if he could race in a pack, because, qualifying, you're by yourself, you're no dirty air, you don't have a guy above you, you don't have a guy below you, so you gotta, kind of learn the track with people around you in a pack.
Well, we'll see how this field is going to shake on out as the field works their way off of turn numbers 3 and 4. We're happy you're joining us for racing action here on this Saturday night as the Iverson pace car pulls down and into pit road. Time to get the party started here this afternoon for the Texas Motor Speedway, as it's time to go, go, go from Fort Worth. Zane Bailey will work his way through turn numbers 3 and 4. He looks to lead lap number 1. Corey Bonin, though, with quite a bit of trouble out the hitch. He is already down 11 spots and looking to potentially be out of the fight early on, while Bailey leads lap 1 to green.
Looking going into turn 1 now, you can see everybody's line is a little bit different, but a lot of guys are choosing to run the bottom line, which is the safest strategy to save tires here.
3 wide, deeper in the field, Thomas Lane Jr., Jim Duda, Tanner Marr fanning out 2 by as we work down at the turns 3 and 4. Up top, I believe that is going to be the number 99 entry, not 96 entry, sorry, of Zachary Mertz, trying to make tracks up high. No dice for him. So Mertz stuck in line still, and now 3 wide again in 1 and 2.
Right here is going to be interesting because this track kind of, skims out a little bit. It's, shortens up. That turn 1 and turn 2 is wider than the back straightaway, so everybody has to kind of come in to a skinnier part on the back straightaway. So that's a real thing to watch out for when you're 3 wide over there.
Well, the field, for the most part, looking pretty steady as they go. Not too much to worry about early on in this race. A lot of a great side-by-side race that we're getting around this mid-pack battle. They have single file out up front, but boy, it's just constant 2 and 3 wide action deeper in the field. Oh boy, Mertz. Bit of a twitch on entry there. Look at Zachary Mertz in the 96. Comes right out the middle. Contact with the door. Slides up the racetrack right across the nose of Thomas Lane Jr. They're able to gather together, though, and be one of a crash.
Looked like it got loose right in the middle of the corner, and that could have been worse than it was.
He kind of looked like he really chucked it in the turn numbers 3 and 4 there. And boy, that could have been absolutely disastrous for the field. If that went the way we thought it might. Right on board the Thomas Lane Jr., this is what he saw with the madness coming down towards turn number 3. AC Mertz is going to go up the middle here. He's going to get a little sideways there, and whoo boy, great awareness there from Lane to check up and avoid a crash.
That was a very skinny 3 wide to push through. So that was a risky, very risky move very early in this race.
I don't even think he intended to do it. The way it looked like it, he had just more speed than he anticipated. I don't think he meant to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been he's trying to use the speed to get past, but that was a very scary move within the first 10 laps here.
Meanwhile, up front for the lead, Michael Gudger and Zane Bailey trying to go at it. Currently, the fastest lap of the race held by Mark Arthur with a 29.248. Bailey clears for the lead still, retains that top spot. Gudger has fought his way up to second after he started his race from the inside of row number 2. Not able to challenge this time by everyone else. Fanning out behind, mostly single file again throughout this pack. It's all the way back here where everything is in question.
But once again, it comes to another point of, side draft, and that's why this second pack is kind of pushed farther away from the first pack, just because they've been side drafting side by side. They've, slowed down a lot from that front pack who, is single file for the most part.
Look at Corey Bonin, though, getting the tail end twitched out as he tries to go up to the outside line. That number 9 of Cole Snyder. Schneider's still doing a good job on working that inside groove as well, trying to get it rubbered in a little bit more, but outside lane growing more and more where you want to be when you're going on offense here. Bodino going to clear as they take it down to the turn numbers 3 and 4.
As you can see, going back up to the front, they have kind of gone two by two so far, while the rest are single file, so Jared Duda trying to make a pass on Michael Gudger here.
Big battle for that number 2 spot as Gudger, Duda, Arthur, Wayne, Rekich, Kilroy, and more are all under a blanket. Jared Duda just able to tuck into the middle line there as Michael Gudger tracks right out to the wall out of turn number 4. Again, good, solid fight that these guys are having here this afternoon. So far, no complaints on how the racing has been conducted. I think that is the same sentiment that can be said throughout the field. Good race in these opening laps here, but again, when does that other shoe drop? Because it's not long before the guys that have been running in these little packs start to get a little bit frustrated that they haven't been able to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, they've gone single file a little bit here now, just to probably not let Zane Bailey run away by himself, but as you can see, Rekich, Ryan Wayne passing the 12 car of Mark Arthur now, and Rekich is trying to do the same.
Ted Rekich, I think kind of in a bit of hot water with a good chunk of his fellow competitors here. He had a lot of really aggressive sins, especially late in the run, where he would just chuck that car in, couldn't hold it on the bottom, would track up and just door someone up the racetrack. In fact, that is what costed both he and Jared Duda a chance at the race win. Duda tried to retaliate after the race. It was a swing and a miss. But, Rekich pushed Duda up into the fence in turn 4 in that final lap. That let Kilroy sweep through and take the win by just 0.02 of a second. I mean, it is, 17 thousandths of a second. I'm thinking about the BRL finish. But it's pretty wild. Oh, look out. There we go. Case in point, Ryan Wayne sent sideways. Dalton Kilroy, last week's winner, is caught up. And a multi-car crash on the front straightaway puts us under the yellow flag for the first time tonight.
Thorough takes a hard hit right into, I think that was the 12 of Mark Arthur. But, you know, that was interesting. It looked like Ryan Wayne left the bottom open a tiny bit, and I don't know who it was who tried to put their nose there.
It would have been Wreckage. Oh, actually, no. Sorry, it may have been Mark Arthur here. Let's take a look. And my apologies. Wreckage had nothing to do with this. That was Mark Arthur. Wayne looked like he may have been a little bit loose. Wreckage and Kilroy, though, just with nowhere to go. The 19 comes piling in of James Yerger. It was just on from there. Gonna be at speed here. And there you see the hook, and there's the wreck.
Can't tell what exactly happened. It seems like, just from watching it, the 12 car came up the racetrack a tiny bit while Ryan Wayne either got loose or was coming down, so they just met in the middle.
Good chunk of the field in the pit road. Top 7 staying out here.
That's unfortunate for Dalton Kilroy getting involved in that after, you know, he's chasing Zane Bailey down in the points, or at least trying to, and that's not, you know, a great sight to see, especially if you're a Dalton Kilroy fan here, because he's gonna have to be in the pits for a little bit.
So Wayne checks up a little bit there, and again, I have to wonder, I want to back this up one more time and slow this down. Right on board with Mark Arthur. Watch this number 39 car here. Watch that tail end. So there's no contact here. I mean, it's close, but there's no contact. See, right there, see how the back end starts to swing around just a little bit? And then he checks up with a bit of tire smoke? I think he got a little bit of an aero push there from Mark Arthur, and that's what sent him around.
Yeah, that's always interesting, because then, you know, you either could blame it on net code or something else, but you see it right there. You know, the aero push gets him a little bit loose, and, you know, Mark Arthur goes under and, you know, gets or catches the quarter panel and spins him around there.
Well, the field going to be stacked up, doubled up once again. First yellow flag comes out right around lap number 13. And we'll restart this race on 17 out of 125. Still very much a long way to go in racing action tonight. And Zane Bailey will look to lead the way. Bailey, Bodeno, May, Wellman, Campbell, Witt, Cody Witt, to be specific, and Joshua Burke all stayed out. Worth noting, out of the cars that all came in, none for tires. It was fuel only, and I like this call, right? Because these guys, I think, had about 3 sets of the pits to work with this afternoon. It was going to be a 3-stop race, which means one of these stints, you're probably going to have to go long on your tires. May as well make it the first one. This is right about on the money to just be able to take 4 tires and fuel on every stop and go to the distance.
I feel like it's still too early to be taking tires, just because 16 laps on the tires here isn't really a lot if you think about it, and especially if you're not pushing too much. You know, that'd be a strange gamble that you'd lose on if you take tires there. I mean, I think they should be able to, you know, make it even, you know, if there's green flag pit stops, if there's another caution, they have a better chance, you know, coming in for tires.
When you say that, this track can be a tire killer. We'll see if that'll be the case this afternoon. Green flag comes back out. And as we take off towards turn 1, Zane Bailey quickly clears for the top spot. Everyone else fanning it out. 3 wide, almost 4 deeper in the field. Well, the front runners have gotten themselves sorted out, but it's all mayhem in the back.
It's like a hornet's nest. Everybody all over the place. Almost 4 wide over here.
Boy, it looks like Jim Duda's got a problem. He is just hemorrhaging spots. He and Ryan Wayne are both dropping heavily. Ryan Wayne, of course, collected in that crash to put us into the flag for the first time tonight. He was not. Look at Bodeno way up the racetrack, trying to fend off Aaron May, and instead he's going to give the spot up.
That's a big thing with the top of that turn. You don't really get that much of a run off the corner just because the banking is not a lot. Murs looks like he hits the Oh, wow. Mers looks like he hit the apron there and just sent his car up, and he was just trying to push through the corner to not give up any spots.
Yeah, Zachary Mertz getting a bit caught up in all of this and a bit loose as well. Tanner Moore getting out 3 wide up the middle with Brian Zimmerman down low. Contact between Mertz and Moore. That's not going to do the 96 any favors here. We're sideways again out of turn 4. Fields able to gap him up, and they remain 2 by down to turn 1.
If the 69 just didn't notice that the 99 was above him, or he just was going to sit there and try to get as far up as he could to run side by side. But that was very, very interesting.
Well, looking like that scrap has gotten itself settled as Ryan Wang can also go to the inside. Meanwhile, up front, Bodeno trying to fight it out with Michael Gudger as Gudger trying to claw his way back through the field. And on top of that, you got Aaron May now attacking Zane Bailey, the pole sitter, for the race lead.
We'll see now. See, I don't know who that is. I think that's the... Oh, he just passed him. Took the air right off of the 10 right there and just kind of, you know, side drafted him there. And Wellman gets by Aaron May.
Kyle Wellman on the move after he had to start this race from the tail of the field due to an incident that he was found at fault of last week. Just behind them, here we go, 3 wide with contact. Up the track goes Dylan Wilbers, up the track goes on swap. Oh, look out, 2 cars hard into the inside wall. Cody Witt has pounded the inside fence, and caution comes out. 1 other car still down to the inside line as Dalton Coe gets around the boat. That is Mike Campbell, and both those cars went flying into the inside wall.
I think Mike Campbell just took a hard hit into the inside wall. That was interesting.
Boy, I mean, Cody Witt just sent it on the 71. I mean, there's no 2 ways to look at that. And that's kind of what started this. The Campbell just drifts up the track, gets into the 4, and around they both go. And look at Paul Witt just barely get around that. But yeah, heavy, heavy licks into the inside wall for both of those contenders. And we'll back this up a little bit more to take a look at these hits at speed.
Can't tell if that was retaliation on the 71's part.
I don't think so. Looked like maybe he was still trying to chase the car and probably didn't get it fully settled. Right on board here with Paul Witt in the 429 as he escapes disaster.
Oh wow, that was closer than I expected.
Yeah, that just looks like you're just chasing the car, right? You just can't get it settled. And look at the air time this number 4 car is going to get here when he pancakes that inside wall. I mean, that's a hard enough hit that lifted all 4 wheels up off the ground to give it an idea of how hard that hit was.
It's a huge hit.
Well, caution is out for the 2nd time tonight. Top 3 continue to stay out. So does Joshua Burke. They have stayed out from the very start of this race. They should be just over halfway through their stints.
I would say with 125 laps, if you really do the math, I guess you said 3. They have 3 more tire sets, which means 4 total for the race. So you want to run these first sets about 50 laps, and then really with the rest you could just run every single 125. Unless you want to split it, you know, different ways to, I guess, have a set for the end, which is always a good thing to keep. I mean, as a driver, you want to keep 1 set just in case a caution comes out at the end, and you know everybody's wasted their tires. You go in, you take a fresh set, you have a chance to win a race right there.
Field window estimated to be somewhere in the realm of 40 laps or so. So ideally pit stops for fuel would be around 40 and 80. But that would mean you'd likely be about 5 laps short come the end, at least to do some fuel saving. That is the one thing that I think these drivers are really utilized with these cautions. They're saving that fuel to make sure that they can make this an easy two-stopper from here.
100%. I mean, you know, the most important thing about, you know, this league is position and not going a lap down. Because if you go a lap down, you got to fight for that lucky dog spot. And it is hard to fight for that lucky dog spot because there could be a person who's a lap down with you who's way faster than you are. So that's always a thing to keep in mind when you're planning strategy.
27 started the race, 24 are on the lead lap, 25 on the racetrack in general. The one car that is laps down right now on the racetrack is Ted Rekich, who was 9 laps off the pace. Green flag is back in the air, this time by. Not a good getaway from Zane Bailey. Kyle Wellman got the drop on him and is looking for the outside line, coming around through turn 1. Wellman up top. Going to look to steal that one away from Zane Bailey, who cuts down low.
Oh, they're almost 4 wide in the back. Whoa, that was interesting.
Big scrap going on back in the field for now, though. It's all eyes up front as Wellman remains alongside with Bailey for the lead of this race. Trying to see if he can take that one away. Bailey has held on to the lead from the drop of the green flag so far. And this time, first official lead change of the night will come from Kyle Wellman. And who would have thunk it? One of the guys in the Ewell penalty takes the lead, but he bobbles off the inside. Here comes Bailey back down to the bottom, trying to go back to the front.
I don't know if they'd start getting aggressive yet, but it seems like they're kind of getting a little bit aggressive to try to, I guess, push their way to the front. But in realistic, you know, I guess purposes is you'd want to stay behind the guy in front of you just because, you know, the draft, you know, you want to save gas by sitting in the draft. And the best way to do it is letting the guy who wants to lead the race lead the race.
Zane Bailey trying to make something happen. Further behind them, Brian Zimmerman scrambling it out with Aaron May. And of course, May gonna scream to the inside line. There goes Gudger, picking off a spot from Kyle Wellman. They were almost 3 wide back here for a moment. We got well under 100 to go now. Oh, look out, one car sliding into the infield grass. And that is Ted Rekich, who caught some loose moments coming off of turn 4, but he'll be able to recover.
I've got to regain all that track position he lost. You know, just...
Oh, boy.
Always not... Oh.
What the heck is going on here? Everyone's kind of all over the place. No one's really letting this fight back here for 16th on, 15th on down, gets settled. Cole Snyder leads the way, but he's got a whole host of Angry Hornets right behind him.
I don't even know what to say. This is very, very interesting racing coming from these guys back here. It's all trying to pass, all trying to make moves to try to get back up, which is mostly slowing them down.
Putting on a good show while they're at it, though. As the field tries to charge down to the turn number 1. Van Leer up high of Coleman'sberger. Dylan Wilbur's in the fray as well, as we'll take to the back straightaway. Oh, contact behind as Mark Arthur got into the door there of the 24 Joshua Burke. Coming off at 2. Looking like they're able to sort that scrap out. And that lets us put our attention back on some of these fights further up the field.
Oh, Wellman still trying to get up to Gudger to potentially make a pass back for second. as Jared Duda just waits behind to see what's going to happen in front. He's going to try to make a move now on the 42.
Trying to get that look to the inside line here. Nearly a bobble. He'll keep it out of these guys. Kyle Wellman retains the spot. Contact around. Gonna go Kyle Wellman. Slides up the racetrack. Does he keep it out of the fence? Yes, he does. Beautiful save from Wellman, but he's gonna drop so far down the field and right on cue. Gudger to the inside of Bailey for the lead.
You know, that's not just killer for his position on the track, but that's also killer for his tires. If you're running a strategy and you spin there, ooh, that really doesn't help with now fixing that tire strategy, especially if you start losing the tires there.
Gudger and Bailey remain tight together. They'll get it single filed out. Could not make that move. Further down the field, different story. Zachary Mertz, still Wilbers and more. Oh, Mertz is loose! Mertz is loose! Heads up right in front of Dylan Wilbers. Able to wrangle it back. Wilbur is going to drop back now to 12th as a result. He had to check up to avoid making that worse. Van Leer fighting around the outside. Colmansberger fighting around the outside as well. And there you got Thomas Lane Jr. and Cole Snyder also in the mix as we fight down the back straight away. Oh, now Wilbers is loose.
Interesting to see who wants to make the first move here. Try to get around both these guys in the front.
Michael Gudger, sorry to cut you off, back to the front. I mean, no matter where you look, something's going on. Zane Bailey trying to get the crossover on Gudger back for the lead.
Side by side. That bottom line supposed to be running a tad bit better than the top line, but off the corner, Gudger's going to get a little bit of a run now.
Trying to fight down the front straightaway, side by side at the top spot. Jared Duda waiting in the wings. We know that Duda is not content to run second fiddle in these types of fights for very long. How long before he tries to make it three? Up the track goes Gudger out of turn number 2, and still we're able to fight clear. And Gudger clears down the back straightaway.
Well, it seems like Zane Bailey either is trying to, save a little bit, or he just, his tires are running out, and these guys are starting to get past him now.
Further behind them, Dylan Wilbers, Lyman Van Leer, all battling it out. Ryan Wayne, Jim Colmansberger in the mix. Everyone trying to slice, trying to dice, seeing who's got what for options. Jim Duda sliding the tail end out. He's able to wrangle it back together. And one car's just caught the lock. Oh, no! Hard into the outside wall to the quad oval. Spins to the inside, and that will, again, put the caution flag out with that number 99 entry, and that looking like it may be day done.
Just going to mention how his line was insanely different from the other car's lines, because he was just running the top of the track the whole way around, and right there he catches the wall.
He was super tight. That wheel was turning, was 90 degrees to the right, and eventually he just lost it, went right into Jasper Crawford. The 17 of Noah Swavard just avoids that. The 99 then goes big time into the outside wall and will spin into the grass, and that will cause an end to his day. Boy, a fantastic job by the 17 entry to get through that right on board.
What a lucky break for that 7-up car. Got hit by Mertz and saved it. It was a lucky break because it could have been into the wall.
I don't know. I mean, that right side is real torn up because of how hard he went in there. Look at the damage to the paint on the right side of that entry. I mean, that's pretty sizable. That could really upset the balance of that car if you can't get it fixed.
It could have been worse, though, that's for sure. I mean, If he got clipped the wrong way, he's into the outside wall and getting turned. So, I mean, I'd call that lucky. Just the fact that he's able to get through with not a lot of damage instead of, you know, having his engine blown and having to tow it back to the pits.
Oh, absolutely. Could have been far worse. Zane Bailey going to get swarmed out of pit row. Gudger picks up the lead, and Wayne picks up second. For the first time, Zane Bailey will not be restarting this race from the front row.
I think everybody took tires. They should have taken tires at this point because, you know, we're about at the last 50 point where I think that, you know,
they did not all take tires. Most of them did. Ryan Wayne took no tires, and I think Pat Green took 2.
Interesting strategy. I would like to see if this race goes green for a little bit more, how many of them start having a little bit of issues with, you know, the way their car runs, because this track, I don't think you can run more than 50 with, you know, the tires. It's gonna be hard, at least. If you know how to save and run with worn tires, then that's good. But for people, you know, who don't and try to take that risky strategy, sometimes it just doesn't work out for them, and you'll see them drop.
Well, assuming this race goes green, the next time we're going to see these guys in, it'll be somewhere in the realm of the lap 80 marker. If they can get to lap 85, they should be good enough to pit and go to the end.
That's the biggest thing about these restarts, is that while you're pacing, you could save so much fuel by having your car in 4th and just clutching in the whole entire time.
Field working out of turn number 4, and I am anticipating this restart to go awry pretty darn quickly, especially given that Ryan Wayne is on fuel only. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence that this restart goes more than 5-10 laps green.
Well, the most important thing is you'll see when, you know, when the green drops, is that within maybe the first 2 laps, the guys who are up front, who you know didn't take tires, or even if you speculated they didn't, you'll see them drop. You'll see them drop all the way to the back, because these guys with the fresher tires will be able to just, you know, eat them.
Green flag back in the air this time by, as Ryan Wayne quickly pushed to the front by Jared Duda, who wants to waste no time. May not have gotten the memo that the car right in front of him is on old rubber. And you can already see how quickly that comes into play as Gudger quickly takes care of Ryan Wayne in short order.
Another big thing here is, how are you going to pass that 38 or 39 car? Especially when the field is all bunched up together.
Well, you find a hole to get down to the bottom. That's how you do it. Zane Bailey and Kyle Wellman did that. Jared Duda jumped down the second he had a chance. Now 3 wide, build the corner. Zimmerman slided up in front as he lost traction on the front end of his machine. Now, for the most part, they're able to get around him just fine for now.
I wouldn't say anything too early, because there could be something that happens off the next lap or something like that.
On the side-by-side for second, we're also 3 wide back here with Wilbers, Van Leer, and Snyder right behind Ryan Wayne, who is kind of being a bit of a cork in the bottle as they speak right now. There goes Jared Duda. An aggressive cut to the inside for third, trying to get around Kyle Wellman.
Well, this is where you'll see the guys in the front move, especially, you know, if they're trying to gain position, you know, trying to get up to the front. I know Jared Duda wants to lead this race, or lead at least a couple laps, to try to get some nice track position for the next
oh boy. Hang on. Remember, Zimmerman's already got a half-point penalty from last week as he nearly takes out Wellman and Jared Duda simultaneously. Wellman nearly gets Duda back there, and in turn number 4. All the while, Bailey with the fastest lap of the race, that time by But an aggressive dogfight there from 3rd through 5th as Zimmerman nearly cleaned him out.
That was close. I mean, I thought that Zimmerman was going to take it away.
Vicious hit into the wall for Wellman, and he's going to lose a few.
That's never great because, you know, take wheel damage right there. That's not great for any tire strategies that you've been playing at all because tire wear goes up right as that wheel gets knocked out of place. Even a tiny bit.
Once again, right, you get the impression that a lot of drivers are not racing with their heads all that much. We're seeing a lot of really aggressive moves being made, and again, I mean, how many of these really need to be made right at this point in time, right? How many of these could afford to wait? It's not the impression we're getting from many drivers in the field here. 3 wide through the quad over, barely ever works, and Wellman catches the wall again.
We're not even halfway through this race yet, so really looking at some of the aggressive moves these guys are making. I don't know if it's, you know, I think it's too early still to be getting really, really aggressive, especially with, you know, so much more of this race left. You know, if you make one mistake and you take yourself out of the race, your night's over.
Well, for the most part, they're keeping it together, but they are really flirting with the lines of what you can get away with. No issues still up to.
So close to each other's quarter panels in that first corner.
Man, no kidding. Tell me about it, right? I mean, this is insanity what we're watching here right now. On board with Cole Snyder as he has got Mark Arthur down in his inside and going to try to get a leg up here. Maybe try to go for an over-under. Looking for a bit of 3 wide. And right up to his outside is the 2 of Lyman Van Leer. Now to the outside of Pat Green as well. I mean, this is everything that goes on in the booth. And boy, you are never able to take a breath here when you're on board of these cars.
And when you're in these cars, I mean, just looking on for everybody watching, you know, while you're watching, you may think that this is like, oh, it's not that bad. But when you realize and you're in the driver's seat of some of these cars and you have to manage everything, not sliding out the corners, being in the middle of a tight 3 wide, it is one of the hardest things to do. And your mind is everywhere. You're multitasking continuously while you're in a race car. And I know a lot of these guys right now are just trying to, you know, what's my fuel at? What am I doing with my tires? Where do I want to run? Oh, well, this guy's on my high side, and there's a guy trying to push me up on the low side. Is it possible that he tries to take it 3 wide? So, but that's a lot of things that goes through your mind as a race car driver.
Mark Arthur to the inside of Airmaid, to the inside of Bodeno. Look at Corey Bodeno trying to kick that tail end out. Just not able to get the drive done. Meanwhile, Van Leer still side by side with Cole Schneider up the road. As well as that, the fight for second is on as Jared Duda and Zane Bailey are set to duke it out, and we'll see if Bailey will, who's going to, well, let's see. Who do you think gets the Gutcher first, right? Jared Duda or Zane Bailey here? They've both been very consistent.
If they don't side draft each other and they stay in that line that they're in, they'll get him quicker. But if they keep side drafting, Gutcher's just going to get away. You can kind of see it over here. You know, if you watch the times in that, I don't know. Seems like, yeah, he's starting to get away a little bit. Just because these cars side draft so well.
Yeah, started to pull just a little bit, but these guys are definitely still within draft distance, and if one of them can get clear, they could, like you say, they could run him down relatively easily. And looking like the driver to get clear will, in fact, be Jared Duda. So we'll see if he'll be able to establish a run.
And Brian Zimmerman following right behind him to try to get past Zane Bailey to, you know, take that position away and just, you know, try to put himself in a good spot. And Jim Duda not too far away in 5th, but Zane Bailey right back onto the bumper. Jared Duda there.
Approaching the halfway point in this race in less than 10 laps time. Oh, look out. Bailey into the wall, out of turn. No, not even out of turn 1, out of the second dog leg there. Nearly wrecked it down into Brian Zimmerman. Jared Dudon, despite being clear, has not been able to run down Gudger all that much. He may have burned up his tires trying to get around Zane Bailey.
It's never a good thing because then, you know, you lose all that speed and you let all the positions you've gained, they just fall right back. You give them right back. That's never a fun feeling when you burn up your tires on a run, especially when you're so close to the front.
Checking back in on the battle for 6th here as Arthur and Moore. They're now running in a bit of lockstep here. Aaron May loosely tagging onto the back of this battle as well. So the battling continues as Marr fights to the inside of Webb.
This track is also a very interesting track. It's, I think, one of 3 now sister tracks of, you know, Charlotte, I guess, was the original. Then Texas was built. Texas was built to be similar to Charlotte. Then they changed it around a little bit. It's a little bit wider as well.
Ooh.
And Atlanta was changed up from a, it was more of a, it wasn't really a dog oval. It was more of a, I guess, oval.
Much, I like to compare to Homestead Miami Speedway, right? I mean, it had the same layout.
Yeah.
Of course, now Echo Park Speedway hosted the Cup Series finale for a good number of years before it was moved to Homestead Miami Speedway formally, and to the Phoenix Raceway from there.
And then back to Homestead Miami next year.
As they should. Loading the way up the racetrack, and we're looking for 3 wide. And this constant aggressive fight here for about 9th on down.
I feel like Homestead has had a lot of the, you know, the best finishes, I think, personally, in, you know, Cup Series championship history. I mean, that one race where Jimmy Johnson won his 7th, that was the turn of events that happened, the Carl Edwards crash, which is, you know, that kind of disappoints me to that point. Because I love Carl Edwards as a driver. I thought, you know, he could have won at least one, but they both came, you know, one of them he came up just short to Tony Stewart. You know, and I'm a big Stewart Haas guy, so that was a big win for me. And then when Kevin Harvick won his 2014, but Carl Edwards, I think should have gotten a championship at some point, but unfortunately.
Right on board here with Corey Bowden, though, as he tries to attack drivers like Ted Records. Look at how wide he goes here in turn 1, but that's just able to set up such a powerful drive down the back straightaway that he uses to then run down the front runners. And look at all the wheel work he's got to put into this car here to keep it pointed in the right direction here at 3 and 4. You see how he's kind of pitching that wheel back and forth? That car is a loose race car right now.
That wasn't always the case when this car first came out on the service. They were extremely tight, and a lot of people, including myself, were complaining on why they were so tight. And you know, I got information from a friend who raced in the ARCA cars, and he told me even that they were loose. So iRacing confused me a little bit when they first released them and how tight they were.
Oh, heads up. Jasper Crawford a bit crossed up down low as May going to go up to the number 16 spot. Dylan Wilbers and Noah Swafford sitting just behind for 16 and 17 on the racetrack. Dylan Wilbers up to the top side, trying to go after Aaron May, and he's going to do so.
Just great racing from the guys in the pack here. They've been doing it cleanly. They haven't been wrecking as much. They've been side by side. They've been 3 wide relatively well, and you know that makes for some great racing, even though it's in the back.
Plenty good action so far. We are, by the way, past the halfway point in the Radio 125 for the Texas Motor Speedway this afternoon. Marr catches the outside fence. Oh, one car absolutely smoked the wall back here. That is Noah Swafford, who is now slow and destroyed.
It's at the top of a 3 wide and just got loose off the corner.
And overcorrected. Oh, hard lick right into the fence. And that was a hit that was courtesy of contact with Aaron May. But geez Louise, what a hit. Oh, hello.
Oh, no, he almost got loose too. It's that corner.
And both of those cars been tracking more and more loose as time moves along. And you can see how much Wellman going up to the high side of the racetrack. Bodeno still in the fray, and then Van Leer going to get in the mix as well. And is Van Leer going to drop out of the top 10?
Interested to see if they try to make moves here. I mean, it's kind of still early in the race, but this is for top 10. And, you know, points are always good for these guys who are, you know, still fighting to try to come up in the championship standings. And they need every point that they can get.
Take one more look here at this big crash with Noah Swafford. And you'll see him right there get sideways and boom. I mean, just how quick that car flashes into one side and out the other really just sells the impact.
That's an insane hit, too. That's coming off of that banking right where the wall kind of straightens out. So that's a really, really hard hit in that wall.
That is the hardest hit we've had all race, and shocked it was out of caution, but hey, the car goes straight. Oh my gosh, Wellman with a wicked slide coming out of turn number 4.
Well, now I think this is where we're going to start seeing a lot of loose race cars.
Oh my goodness, right on board with Wellman here. Look at that. Oh my gosh, the wheel work behind that machine from the outside. Just a little bit of an arrow wash there from Van Leer, and look at how far sideways that car kicked out.
What a save, too. That's a great save. Oh!
Whoa! Holy! Boy, oh boy, they are just trying to wreck back here. 3 looking for 4 wide now as we come back down to the round 2 it.
That was scary. That was scary. Bodeno almost got turned by the 2 car of Levin Van Leer.
Well, they're trying to wreck here, but we're still about 12 laps away from the point where you get to go in fuel. No, Wellman sideways again. This time he's going to go hard into the wall. Takes Bodeno with him. Caution is out of the big crash on the front straightaway. Wilbers comes to a stop in the infield. Coleman'sberger and Wellman both with black flags as a result of unsafe pit entries. I'd be surprised if those were not cleared. And Gudger leads the way. We are not good to go on fuel to the end.
That was interesting, but it was waiting to happen with this pack. It was waiting to happen.
Well, Wellman just didn't let the tires get settled, drifted right up in front of Bodeno, ran into the back of him, and then spun him around into the outside wall. That kicks the 34 around, who gets into Wilbers. There goes Coleman'sberger, as they're both going to go spearing off to the inside, and they're both going to go hard into the pit wall.
Ryan Wayne watched that all happen through his front window and got through it.
Ay, ay, ay. All the way down, and boy, the pace car just barely beat them on the way out, right on board with Ryan Wayne. Whew. And that's going to bring the field back down to pit road, but this will not be for the final time unless we get a big caution string coming up here.
Expect tires from everybody here. I mean, we got, what is it, 50 to go? I think everybody's taking tires here just to get themselves fresh, and Ty Wreckage is staying out.
I believe he is a lap down.
That makes sense then.
Yes, Wreckage is 7 laps down. He'll like to be in the next time by. Meanwhile, the rest of the field is out of pit road. We're going to take ourselves a quick step back. When we return, it's more racing action on Green Flag TV coming at you. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV. You're riding on board with the iRacing pace car as we are to the yellow flag for, I believe, this is about the 5th time tonight at the end of what was and what will likely be the longest green flag run here of the afternoon. The field getting set to go back to Green Flag Racing this time by. If you're just tuning in, my name is Lolo Ramble alongside George Kurafidez. We're bringing you all the action from the Radio 125 as we enter the second half of the season for the SRA NasClassic Arca Blitz. Whole field came down for fresh tires and fuel. George, I still have no idea who's going to take this one because this could still go either way. We're going to wave off this start as well. Make sure the field is all formed up and ready to go.
And I still can't find a guy who's going to win this race either because this race has been so strange and so unpredictable at times that it could be anybody coming out of the darkness to try to take a win away here.
You see Zachary Mertz go into the tail end of the field. That tells me that Mertz has likely claimed responsibility for the incident. So we will be seeing him start this race from the very tail, or start this restart from the very tail end.
I think Mertz was in the pits because he's 35 laps down. I think after that last wreck, he may have taken the EOL now for the wreck that involved him. I guess a longer.
Well, you can't call it. You can't claim a caution, 3 yellows later. You got to claim it in that yellow, and if you don't, well, then it goes to post-race review. Because the whole point is, if you claim you get an EOL for that yellow, you can't just claim it later on, right? Because I mean, you don't know if you're gonna get another yellow flag later on.
I don't know then, yeah. But I definitely know he was in the pits repairing. That's for sure.
So here we go, looking to go back to Green Flag Racing this afternoon. As the iRacing pace car will look to dive back down and into pit road. Once again, we'll enter the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. We're back to racing.
Everybody hopefully on fresh tires, so we'll see a lot of, I don't think a lot of people will try to pass, but I may be wrong.
Off the top shelf, Kolmensberger Wellman did not get their black flags cleared, by the way. They will still have to come down to pit road to serve them. Oh, and Jim Duda is going to get taken out hard into the outside wall with Brian Zimmerman. And we're crashing up the road here as well. Cole Schneider has also been turned into the infield. He's going to recover it. Great save from him. But big hits into the wall for Duda, and Zimmerman is likely done. Boy, that got out of control quickly. And, well, we kind of anticipated that this start was not going to last too long. I didn't think it'd go that quick, though.
I wasn't even, like, 3 turns through.
So I think Jim Duda gets loose here. He may have gotten some help. Mark Arthur really sent her in there. And then that tips him around right into Zimmerman, who just pounds the wall. And there you see Cole Snyder getting sent for a ride just up the road to boot. But the good news is not a lot of cars collected in this, so we should be able to get this one back underway pretty shortly.
Hopefully, you know, I would think that their days are over. That looks a little bit like netcode, potentially.
And then look at Cole Snyder weaving left and right, trying to recover his race car.
That's a great save.
Sees the mess, gets tipped by Tanner Marr. Round he goes.
Just a great job saving that race car. I mean, that's always a really hard thing to do, especially when you're loose like that. You know, sometimes the car is just going to take you wherever it wants to go, but if you can tame it like he just did there, you know, he's still got a clean race car and he's not out of this race.
We'll jump back a little bit further and right on board this time with Mark Arthur, driver of the number 12. Look how far back he is from... Okay, never mind. There's Jim Duda around the outside, and it's such a hard situation to call, right? I mean, you can make the argument that... You can make the argument that Mark Arthur stuck his nose where it doesn't belong, right? But there's also a very fair argument, right, that when they make contact, he had the nose in there. He wasn't washed off the track. He was very much on a firm line that he had full control over, and he got turned in on. There's arguments both ways for that one.
I mean, you kind of look at it a little bit, and you see Duda kind of was coming down the racetrack, I guess running a line thinking that he was clear, and Mark Arthur quickly was able to get his nose there and stay on the bottom, and they just got into each other. But we'll probably see what will happen later with the penalties.
So Coleman'sberger and Wellman still have their black flags from earlier. Wellman, of course, I doubt will ever be able to serve his because he is very much out of the fight. Jim Coleman'sberger has 3 green flag laps to serve his. That is once we go green. Of course, he did not have those black flags cleared. That black flag, unfortunately, comes from an unsafe pit entry after he spun into pit road as a result of a crash. But, of course, the ruling is, right, no black flags to get cleared. You got to live with it.
And that's always the unfortunate thing, because sometimes it may just not be your fault. Well, 44 to go. You said that they could hold 40 laps of fuel, so
yeah, so
probably one more stop.
Well, I think we need 2 because, I mean, they've been running a few laps already, even if they're under caution. So I think 2 cautions and we might be good to go to the end. Green flag back in the air. Michael Gutcher taking off towards turn 1.
I'm interested to see how the tone changes a little bit here. Well, I don't know if they'll keep racing more aggressively, or they'll tone it down a little bit because they've seen what happens when you race a little bit more aggressively and how people's races can end in the snap of a finger.
Well, let's see. We're late in the race. Points are on the line. I think it's not going to get any calmer from here to the end. Van Leer to the inside of Tanner Marr. Cole Snyder and Pat Green are also in the fray, just a little ways behind them. A bit of 3 wide deeper in the pack as well. So the number 9 of Cole Schneider going to be working with this field as he gets around Pat Green. Green trying to look back to the inside. Can't get there. How about that? Zachary Mertz taking the fast lap of the race at the 29.190 from over 30 laps down.
Well, you know, he's not really fighting for anything in this race, but at least he does get to save for at least a lap that he has the fastest lap of the race.
Hey, he might hold that. That's an extra bonus point, right? I mean, go for broke. Every point matters.
That's true. And, you know, you're never fully out of the race points-wise.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there he goes.
And I think Mertz just got his stuff rocked as no caution somehow for that. He is going to go up and into the outside wall. And will somehow keep it green.
Right as we mention him, he's up and into the wall. That's...
Bit of a tip there. Oh, boy. He still is working his way around this racetrack, albeit with a very broken race car.
Surprised there's no meatball flag.
Nope, he's got a meatball flag, which means with him having that meatball flag, he must serve that. If he does not serve that, he will be disqualified from this race. So I'd imagine he'd be having to pit in here this time by. He's got the leaders coming up on him. Oh, and he's into the wall again here. Might not be able to get to pit road. Here comes the field. He's going to get down to the apron just in the nick of time. And he'll make it in before the DQ, but oh, look at it.
I was testing the limits a little bit too much, I think. That was closer than really want to.
I'm willing to bet he didn't realize how broken the car was, tried to make the turn in, and it just didn't turn. Here we go. Pat Green, Tanner Ward, both 3 wide to the inside of Paul Witt. Mark contact with Green. Muscled up the racetrack. Can he recover? Yes, he does. Cutting into the grass, though. Holy cow! Passing the grass for Pat Green as Tanner Moore cuts into the infield. I mean, that'd be enough of a cut on a road course to give you a slowdown penalty.
That was insane.
Talk about not giving a crap, right?
It's flying right through the grass there. Shades of Dale Earnhardt.
Take a look at this as Green going to make that big lunge to the inside. Tanner Marr tries to go with him. Contact between the two. Marr then washes up. He's going to cut down and just say, yeah, screw it. We'll make that work.
It didn't really look like he gave him any gain position either. It looked like he lost a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. He lost. You only lose time doing that. I think it was more trying to avoid the car in front of him, the reason why he did that.
This is very, very interesting. Because that was like a battle. Well, Tanner Moore now in 6th place. That was a very interesting battle right there that resulted in a great moment from this race. That's a moment that should be talked about. Because you don't see it that often that somebody will go and pass in the grass.
Top 4 on a big breakaway as we reach the 30 laps to go mark. At this point, you got more than enough to go the distance, but I still think you need an extra caution or two if you want to make sure you're safe. Arthur again looking to the inside of Paul Witt. This time, Witt is able to clear. Slides up the racetrack, and Arthur will have to look high.
Mark Arthur's trying to push his nose in there to try to open up to try to, I guess, push Paul Witt up the racetrack to open up a hole for him to slide through. But, you know, as we saw before, it really didn't result well. What it did with Duda resulted in him going into the fence.
So the 12, the 429, the 69, and the 90, all under a blanket as we fight this fight all the way down to the turn numbers 1 and 2. They still cannot get away from each other. Arthur leads the way of the battle pack. But Paul Witt really trying to usurp him in this battle for the final spot inside the top 5.
No, with all this battling, I feel like these guys are going to need to pit again because I feel there's too much battling here. You know, they're going to go less, I think, than the front 3 who are still in line with each other.
Yeah, top 4 are all running single file to allow them to break away from this field. The fight is really just in this little cluster here where they're still trying to go side by side. Tanamar looking for the outside of Pat Green. They'll drive it in deep into turn 1. And Marr not able to get a run on the Exalted number. Oh, maybe he is. Goes around the outside. Oh boy, Dalton Kilrow kicking the tail end behind this pack as he tries to get the ship righted as well.
Very unfortunate race for Kilrow getting caught up in that first wreck, but he's made his way back up to 10th. You know, which puts him in a good points position anyways, even though he is trying to chase down Zane Bailey for that first place spot. You know, he needs everything he can get after a not so fun start to the race for him.
As they receive Paul Witt and Tanner Marr. Oh boy, nearly a collision between them. But Witt still able to make these moves happen. And again, what a fight these guys are having. Just a tremendous scrap.
Looks like it's kind of calmed down a little bit, but I don't expect it to be calm for too long because we're getting closer and closer to the end of this one. And everybody's going to start trying to make moves, especially. I mean, these guys are in the top 10, but I don't think any of them are content with the place that they're in right now, especially if they have a car in front of them if they want to pass.
Checking into the front runners, Michael Gutcher continues to pull clear of Jared Duda and co behind, while even further down the pack, Joshua Burke and Cole Schneider trying to keep clear of James Yerker and Ryan Wayne. This is a bit of a loose fight for 11th. You got Thomas Lane Jr. trying to as well keep Aaron Maya back. He's about half a second behind him as well. And even this battle for 5th started to break up. It's really more of a battle for 6th than anything at this point. Heck, maybe even for 7th on down to this point. And again, I think this is partially due to some fuel savings started to come into play. Because remember, they were not safe before we went green. They were still going to be short, we think, by a couple of laps. And you can hear cars putting the clutch and coasting. They're not safe on fuel.
Wondering if that top 3, if they're switching, you know, whoever's in the front just to try to save fuel, but
No,
it seems
they're,
like
they're not.
You
You don't get that benefit of a track like this. Not this one this short. You'd have to do that at a track like Talladega or something. It doesn't work here. At least not in these cars. I mean, Indy cars, yeah, get back to me. Maybe you got an argument, but I don't think in these ARCA cars it would do much.
I feel like maybe a tiny bit, but not as much as like really you would want if you're like, you know, you're not gonna get extreme fuel saving from drafting, but you're gonna get a little bit, I'm sure.
Well, you're gonna be held up. The problem is you got to be able to keep pace up as well, right? You're not gonna be able to keep pace up when you're side by side in these turns here. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. 429 is caught 12. Mark Arthur now.
So Paul Witt wants to go. He'll try to look for the inside line on Mark Arthur. and makes that a pretty solid overtake.
Mark Arthur looks to be saving fuel. He did pull away earlier in the run, but it looks now that he's trying to save fuel.
I like that he's gotten back into the mix here with the likes of Dalton, Kilroe, and more. Oh, heads up bar a little bit sideways on the way in. Able to gather him up, but still. Kilroe trying to now claw his way further up into the top 10 after he got crashed earlier tonight.
Zane Bailey is slow.
You're right, Zane Bailey is slowing, and he is slowing dramatically right now. In fact, last lap by, he was 1.5 seconds slower than the race leaders, almost 1.5 seconds slower than everybody around him. Zane Bailey is on a desperate fuel save bid right now. I think he only just realized how much trouble he's in with the fuel numbers, and it might have been too late.
It's like he's just, he's dropping so much to the point where it may be hard for him to come back and tear his way, or claw his way back up to the front.
$18 laps to go at the line. And now it is a question of fuel. Would not be the first time. Remember Atlanta Motor Speedway earlier this year, where the race went down in fuel mileage and you had the race leader running out of fuel coming out of the final quarter. That, in fact, was Jasper Crawford that ran out of the final corner on the final lap at Atlanta, allowing for who else but Zane Bailey to take the win, his only win of the season so far.
Team is in the wall a little bit coming through, but it looks like everybody seems to be slowing a little bit more to try to just save enough fuel to come around.
No surprises there. Oh boy. Actually, look at Dylan Wilbers' hood.
Oh, he's got damage.
Oh yeah, he's got big damage. In fact, he's down to the apron. Look at that hood flapping around. That thing is hanging on by a thread. And as well as that, Michael Gudger has in fact just lost the lead, as I believe he is now. In fact, he's in the pit road. Gudger could not make it.
I don't know if Jared Duda can either. He may have to come down soon too.
So for that, we'll see if we can figure out what happened in Dylan Wilbers, and well, that is already well after. We'll see if maybe we can dissect what happened to his engine hood, and it doesn't look like it. That's been like that for a while, so whatever happened to his car, it happened unbeknownst to us.
Well, now it's all up to see who can save the most fuel and make it around. Because now Michael Gudger's a lap down. Somebody could save more fuel than him and stay out on the racetrack for the next 14 laps. It's gonna get interesting.
Gudger is now back out onto the racetrack. He is a lap down, but he is going to be, by and large, the quickest car on the racetrack. He took 4 tires and fuel, so he did not take just a fuel-only run. He has, in fact, been able to get out there on fresh tires as well, and he's got enough laps. He might be able to put it to good use.
With how slow most of these guys in the field are going, Michael Gudger could use this to his advantage just to push the full way through. He's got a chance of. The problem is he's just got to unlap himself and then come back around. And with 12 to go, there may not be enough time.
Pat Green and Tanner Marr, in the meantime, continuing to scrap it out amongst themselves. And in fact, Lieben Van Leer now being swallowed up by what was at one point the battle for 5th has now become the fight for 2nd. As Paul Witt drives to the front, they are 3 seconds behind Jared Duda. And the gap not really closing all that much. It's kind of remained as is. Pat Green give it a shove on the way in by Tanner Martin. Nearly goes around.
That was close.
There you see Mar now looking to the inside. Coming to 10 to go this time around. What do you think here, George? Does Jared have the fuel to make it? He is on lap 40 of his stint right now. I think he doesn't have the fuel.
It would be very exciting to watch him run out of fuel on the last lap and somebody, being Kevin Harvick at Charlotte that one time.
I don't think we're even going to get close to that. I think he's got to pit within the next 2 laps here.
I think that's also why we saw Van Leer drop back a little bit. He's trying to do the same thing that, you know, Zane Bailey did as Gudger's trying to pass here, and Tanner Martin's just not letting him through.
Gudger, of course, would be battling these guys for position. They have to come down to pit road, shoots right up the middle, and he'll unlap himself as Gudger desperate to try to put himself onto the lead lap. Because here's the thing, if a caution comes out and he's on the lead lap, he's in the comfort seat to jump the field. But if he doesn't get lucky that and the caution comes out now, he's got to take the wave around to get it. And then he'll be screwed.
Yeah, and then he starts right in the back and kind of wave goodbye to your chances there.
Exactly. That's why he's so desperate to try to unlap himself in the event that there is a late race yellow, which chances slim since nobody's really running here at full bore. As into pit road comes Van Leer.
Caution's out.
Oh boy. And it's for Joshua Burke, who has gone around, and I believe that is in turn 4. It is turn 4. That was the caution that Gudger was dreading. That is absolutely shot his chances of winning this race in the foot. And this race will be decided in a 2 or 3 lap shootout. We'll jump back, find out what happened to Burke. Down low. Oh boy, straight on in 3. That looks like a hardware failure if you're asking me.
Maybe a wheel disconnecting, I don't know.
And then he's gonna just slide down the racetrack and gonna go into the tire barriers as well. And that is what eventually forced the yellow. So there's on the outside, all's well here. And then watch. Yeah, that's a wheel disconnect.
The number one way you know? Yeah, you can see it reconnects right there.
Yep.
Because it looks like it pulls.
So the field into pit road for the final time tonight.
Well, Van Leer was on pit road during the caution, so I wonder where that's going to put him.
Interestingly enough, Dalton Kilroe, no, he did not stay out. He took fuel only, as did Tanner Marr. They think they can outlast the field here on some fresh tires. Now let's take a look on board real quick. This is going to be on board with Cody Witt, or sorry, with Joshua Burke. And listen in. And report we're hearing, by the way, not a wheel disconnect, a full game crash from the sounds of it.
Interesting. I've never seen that before.
Usually you just kind of flash out, and that's a new one. I'm willing to bet maybe what happened is instead of it just a hard crash, maybe it locked up for a minute, and that's why we saw him go straight on. And then when he blinked out, that's when the game actually like closed out to desktop.
Could have been, yeah.
So it'll be 5 laps to go 4 to go when we take the green flag. The top 2 are on old tires. They took just enough fuel to go the distance and make a little bit of overtime if they had to. Everyone else, in fact, you know what? They may have taken 2, and then from 3rd on back, it's 4, with the exception of James Yerker.
Interested to see if the 2-tire strategy works out well for Kilrow, because Kilrow needs this to get back up at, you know, in the points at Zane Bailey. This would be a big race to do it. And he sits in the, you know, the driver's seat right now in first position to try to hold off the rest of the field who took 4, and to try to take this win to get points. So it's going to be interesting to see how this ends.
Kilrow leads the way. Marr to his outside. The green flag comes out. We've got 4 laps to go. Oh, there! Oh, boy, that's going to be a mess. And, well, that is overtime. Big wreck coming down to turn 1. Crawford involved. He was one of the first ones to get collected. Jared Duda caught a piece. I think I saw Thomas Lane Jr. get into that as well. And that's green white check and attempt number 1 here coming on up for you. Well, that was anticlimactic, but I'm sure that's exactly what Kilrow was hoping for.
Just have a little bit of time now.
I'll take a look as the field will come into the Geico restart zone. Looking like all was going to end well, and then, well, Bailey tried to get aggressive, look to the inside of Crawford. And that's going to spin the 66 up, head on into the outside wall. Collected Lane, collected Duda. Look at Cole Snyder just escape down to the inside.
That's an unfortunate end for some of these guys' races, because like you make it all the way to the end just to be taken out on what could have been the final restart if there was no caution, and now you have to be content with where you finish at this point. Kind of just a very unfortunate way to end your race.
So we got 2 overtime attempts. This is the first of those 2. What this does help is Dylan Wilbers, who will now be only 2 laps down, although unfortunately he will not be able to get back onto the lead lap. I think the absolute most he can hope for right now is 14th, and well, the hood just popped up, which is less than ideal, to put it mildly.
I say he's also got to hope this hood falls off.
Or goes back down and gets the pin lashed in.
Yeah. He's coming down pit road now.
Yeah, he's going to have to be looking out of the side window to guide him in here. Boy, that's not something you see every day.
Nope.
I like how we gave a bit of extra brake there just to get it settled down so we can see where his stall was. Now, I saw that happen in the SRA Cup series a little while ago. You had a case where Jacob Noyes on the final lap had his hood pop up, and it's the final lap, right? You're not stopping. So he ran the entirety of the final lap with his hood up, having to look out of the left side window. Still walked away with the top 15 in that race.
Which is not bad.
Considering there was still 20 cars in the lead lap, and he was in, like, 12th. Yeah, I mean, I think anyone will take losing 3 spots while having to effectively drive the final lap blind.
That's all relying on your spotter and your back mirror at that point.
Muscle memory. Well, you can see he's got triples, so we can see out of the sides as well, which I think is what kind of help with the sight breaking points.
It was an oval, right? It was the oval, though, right? It wasn't a road course.
Well, yeah, it's Martinsville, so it's not. It wasn't a long lap.
I was gonna say. Martinsville has had some of those strange occurrences where, you know, cars have been missing hoods and whole front ends. I think there was one year that Brad Keselowski just didn't have a front end. He was just racing without a front end. Looked like a one of those Whelen modifieds. And Matt Kenseth in that infamous 2015 playoffs where he wrecked Joey Logano, he was missing a hood too.
Well, the field going to work their way around, and again, it'll be a 2-lap dash. If we have another caution, we will try it one more time. Green flag back in the air. Dalton Kilroe trying to survive for 2 more laps to win it all in Fort Worth. Coming down into the opening quarter, Kilroe gets clear. They're 2 and 3 behind. Tanamar looking for the outside, can't get in there. Now Pat Green will try to attack it. Kilroe goes defensive.
Zane Bailey. He was running that top line. He looked like he was about to shoot like a missile.
Trouble on straightaway. Michael Goucher going to get turned hard to the outside wall. Big crash on the front straightaway. We'll get back to that in a moment. Meanwhile, Kilroe trying to outlast the field. He takes off. He is well clear into turn numbers 3 and 4 for the final time. Coming back around into turn numbers 3 and 4. No competition for Pat Green. Dalton Kilroe back to back, and I believe it is win number 4 in the SRA NasClassic Series. And it is win number 4, and in fact, he has pulled off the hat trick 3 in a row for Kilroe.
Well, he needed that for the points.
Yes, he did. Take a look at this big crash coming across the start-finish line to start the final lap. We'll get another look back at this one as Gudger just gets in there with Arthur. Around they all go. Jared Duda piles in. Schneider caught a big piece, and oh boy, Jim Coleman'sberger big time into the mess as well. And well, Kilroe will now look to burn that thing down on the front straightaway. Tell you what, he knows how to play these late game cautions. He has been through so many of them. He knows how they work and did everything he needed to do this afternoon to pull off a 3rd win in a row. The reason why he's taking 3 in a row, right? He was able to hang on from Bristol doing the same thing. I think he's actually pulled off the exact same strategy at Bristol, at Kansas, and tonight at Texas, back to back to back. And somehow no one has caught on to his playbook yet. Well, the field all the way across the line so far. As we are going to look set to take a rundown and check out all who finished where this afternoon. It was a wild race for the field this afternoon, but a hard-fought one at that. Won by Dalton Kilroe, takes win number 4 and his 3rd in a row. Pat Green back in the number 2 spot. Paul Witt in 3rd, with Tanamar in 4th, Zane Bailey in 5th, James Yerker in 6th, Aaron May, Ryan Wayne, Lyman Van Leer, and Mark Arthur close out the top 10. From there, Jared Duda in 11th, Michael Gudger back in 12th. Cole Schneider 1 lap down, along with Dylan Wilbers, who was 3 down. Lane and Crawford both 5 down. 10 down was Colmansberger. 11 down was Burt. Campbell was 13. We're now well to the cars that didn't finish this race, with Wreckage back in 20th. And rounding out the field is Jim Duda, Brian Zimmerman, Corey Bodeno, Kyle Wellman, Noah Swafford, Zachary Mertz, and Cody Witt, with Andrew Duffield and John Holliday failing to start racing action tonight. So all of that brings us home to a wild way to close out the afternoon here. A lot of hard-fought racing action that we had here this afternoon, and we'll look set to give a chit-chat here to the drivers that come home at the end of the night, and we'll look to kick things off first and foremost with one Dalton Kilroe, the driver out of Ormond Beach, Florida, bringing it home number 1 this afternoon. Dalton, 3rd win in a row. You have done the hat trick this afternoon. Kind of talk us through your afternoon. I know last night you weren't happy with how you won that race. A little bit better tonight?
Yeah, definitely. That late caution with 7 or so to go was not ideal, because I was I don't know if you had hopped on board with me at all, but I was saving fuel. I was 3 laps of the good. I don't think anybody else around me was going to be able to make it, other than I think maybe the 19, but I had no idea where he was on track compared to me. But you know, I would have had that race won if it had gone green, but you know, I don't know what happened with the 24 there, but apparently his computer crashed. But somebody, I don't know what happened there. We'll see. But 2-tire call got saved by that yellow, because I'm not sure I could have held on for more than 2 laps, but pace felt good all night. Got into something in that first caution and had like 4 minutes of damage, so I was just trying to get it all fixed. And once I finally got it fixed, I was like, holy crap, this thing's got speed in it. So I was just glad to be able to come home and at least finish on the lead lap at first, and then everything just kind of opened up, and here we are, victory lane.
It's about the 3rd week in a row as well where you've had to take that strategy of kind of not short, well, short stop in the field, I guess, by taking less tires in the box on the final pit stop. It's worked out for you very well so far. Do you reckon they might catch on to the strategy pretty soon here, though?
A lot of the times, so I don't really remember any other time that I've only taken 2 tires, but I know it's normally just a risk to even take 2 tires in the first place, because you never know how loose the car is going to handle, especially if you didn't try it in practice, because I had no idea how it was going to be in practice. But way I tried to counteract it, because I mean, taking rights, it's going to get loose. I just took less fuel, and you know, didn't really have much in the tank, and that kind of allowed it to stay relatively good. I think I actually ran my fastest lap of the race on the last one, so that's I guess I made the right call there.
Well, looking forward, it's the Phoenix Raceway coming on up. A track that I know you've you have your own opinions on, but 4 in a row, is it on the cards?
No, not at Phoenix.
You don't think are you not going to be there, or are you not confident?
No, I hate that track. I hate it so much. Like, if I somehow manage to win there, there's a problem.
Well, you hated Pocono.
Like,
you won there.
I love Pocono. What are you talking about?
Oh, I thought with the whole barrel rolling down the back straightaway thing that one time. I'm not going to let you forget that, by the way.
I know, but no. Besides that, I love it. So, Pocono is one of my favorite tracks.
Well, there you go. Well, Phoenix Raceway coming on and up. Who knows? Maybe it'll be 4 in a row. Maybe it'll. Who knows? But what we do know, you're likely going to be in the points lead exiting race number 8 tonight as we enter the second half of the season.
Hey, we'll see. I mean, for missing a race earlier, again, at Legacy Atlanta, which I love that place too. I love a lot of the tracks we go to, except Phoenix. Phoenix can burn in the desert for all I care. You know, to be out of race and end up getting up into the points lead, yeah, I've been on a little bit of a tear with the wins, but you know, it's kind of crazy to me.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing next week in Davondale. Congratulations on taking home win number 4 of the season and 3rd in a row. We'll see you when we go racing next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Dalton Kilroe brings it on home with a solid drive this afternoon as he goes for the hat trick. We'll bring on up Pat Green into the broadcast booth now. Pat Green on his career best finish and his first ever podium at SRA. He stands by with George Kirafides.
Well, that's that's your first podium of the season. That's a great finish. How are you feeling coming out of this race?
I feel pretty good. I try to play the long game and just let everybody else go by and try to get back by. I didn't think I would make it on those short runs that we had. Because at least for me, it takes a while for the tire to start around a little bit, but I'm happy with the result. Finally got a good finish out of this.
Take me through what you think were the key moments of this race for you, and in your opinion, which led to you finishing in second on the podium.
Yeah, just pretty much just taking it a lap at a time. It's easy to push real hard, and it eventually wear that right front out really quick. So for me, I was just trying to back up the cars as best as I could and not overdo it. Because I know with the setups that we have, it's leaning more towards the tight side. So just doing that and just trying to stay out of trouble.
How are you feeling going to next week at Phoenix Raceway? Are you looking to continue this, momentum that you've built up from this race into next week?
Yeah, I hope so. Phoenix is not one of my best tracks, so have to get in some testing laps there before we go there on next week. But either way, I'm looking forward to it, and it's a new challenge, so I like it.
Congrats on the podium, and thank you for the interview.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Take it.
And with that, we'll move on down to Paul Witt, the driver that comes home third place this afternoon. Paul, we don't get the chance to talk to you much throughout this series anymore, but whenever we do, it's always a pleasure to have you up with us. A good third place for you this afternoon. You were one of the first drivers that was on a fresh set of 4. Talk us through the final few laps there for you.
Yeah, I was hoping a caution would come out, but I had my fuel, everything ready to go. I was going to take no tires and just get a splash and go at the end. I was just stretching it all the way to as far as I could because I was keeping an eye on where Zane and the other guys in the points are, trying to catch them on some points. But tire wear was good for me all night. I was just riding around, just minding my own business most of the night.
A very solid race as far as things go. Like you say, kind of mind your own business, but that didn't stop from getting involved in some of the more feisty fights that we had on the racetrack. How was things for you as you tried to navigate through the melee?
Yeah, it was tough. I really thought with this penalty point system that we got going, people would calm down a little bit, but no, they really haven't. But it'll come down to it where these guys are going to have to start calming down, or they're going to be penalized quite a bit. So,
well, who knows how this race is going to pan out on, and how things are going to go next week as well. I mean, it's Phoenix Raceway coming on up next week. With how aggressive things have been this season, what are your insights on what we can expect to see next week?
Well, I'm hoping for a good, clean race. I'm sure we are not going to have the open dog leg. So if the guys are listening or whatever, be prepared. That open dog leg is going to be gone. We are not having it. So at least you guys are going to know up front.
Well, that's going to be an interesting one indeed. I think the last time we had the closed dog leg was back in about 2011 before they actually opened it in 2012 onward. But, Paul, congratulations on third place, and we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing in Avondale.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
That was Paul Witt coming home number 3 this afternoon. And, George, it's going to be just about all the time we got for one afternoon. We'll take a look at the updated championship standings at the end of that one, and not quite able to get things fully updated, it seems, on our end, but I can tell you right now, a solid race overall as far as this one goes, and I know that quite a few drivers, I think, are they're looking set to see what next week brings, right? It should be a good one.
I mean, a lot of drivers are still looking for those points, so as we get later into the season, the racing will get more and more aggressive, and more drivers will have desperation. So really looking, as we've kind of stepped over the second half of the season mark, this is where we're really going to see guys trying to get, scrape those points as much as possible to try to push themselves into contention for the championship.
Well, coming on up tomorrow night on Green Flag TV, it's going to be a first swing out to Oregon for the Classic IndyCar Series. They'll have their debut at the Portland International Raceway, as well as that the High Time Racing League Darty Premier Series out at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on Monday night with a Global IndyCar Challenge kicking off a triple header on Wednesday at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. We'll then swing over to Pennsylvania for the PSR Sim Cam Expo Truck Series, and from there across the pond to Brands Hatch for the final race of the Beer League over on Wednesday night. Thursday night holds the Average Joe Sim Racing League with their 5th race, the Alan Ray Thomas Memorial 175 at Bristol Motor Speedway, and that is then followed up as well by more racing action as well for the Bolt Racing League and their Lightning Series. That'll be coming on up for race number 3 on Friday night as well. Still more action as well to come here in this one, and if you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, you are more than free to check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. In the meantime, my name has been Ola Rampel along George Kirafides. The front half of the season is very much behind us, but there's still a lot of racing action left to go. It's going to be tight, it's going to be aggressive, and it's going to get hot and angry in the desert. We'll see you next week in Avondale.